I woke up with a feeling that my brain had been removed, blended with gravel and shoved back into my skull. The first thing I registered was the smell. It wasn't the stale scent of my cramped city apartment, old coffee and exhaust fumes. It was cedar, leather, and something sharp, like rain on dry earth. I opened one eye. Mistake. The sunlight streaming through the massive window felt like a physical assault. I groaned, trying to shield my face, and that's when I felt the weight. My left hand felt heavy. Wrong. I lifted it, blinking against the throbbing headache. There, on my ring finger, sat a ring. Not a simple band. A thick, brushed silver ring with a vein of obsidian running through it. It looked ancient. It looked expensive. And it was definitely stuck on my finger. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through the hangover fog. I sat up, too fast, and the room spun. Rustic wood beams overhead, a stone fireplace, a cowhide rug. This wasn't a hotel. This was a lodge, or a very expensive ranch house. "Okay, Leo," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Think, wedding, Sarah's wedding, open bar, tequila shots with the bridesmaids, the mechanical bull." I looked down. I was wearing a t-shirt that wasn't mine. It was soft, worn gray cotton, and it smelled like sandalwood and man. Beneath it, I was wearing absolutely nothing. I scrambled out of bed, wrapping the massive duvet around myself like a toga. I stumbled to the heavy oak door and yanked it open. Silence. The hallway was grand, lined with black and white photos of cowboys and horses. I walked barefoot on the polished floor, following the smell of coffee. "Hello," I called out. "Is anyone here? I think I'm lost." I turned a corner into a kitchen that was bigger than my entire apartment. Standing by the stove was a woman in her 60s, humming to herself. She turned, saw me in my duvet toga, and smiled. Not surprised, but amused. "Morning, darlin'," she said, pouring a mug of coffee. "Rough night?" I don't know," I stammered. "Where am I? Who are you?" "I'm Martha. You're at the Kincaid Ranch, and you need this." She handed me the coffee, black, strong. "Drink up. Your husband is out on the back porch." My brain stalled. The mug slipped in my fingers, splashing hot coffee on the floor. "Husband?" I squeaked. Martha just handed me a paper towel. "Go on. He's waiting." I walked to the back porch in a daze. And there he was. Sitting on the railing, looking out over endless acres of green Texas pasture, was a man who looked like he'd been chiseled out of the landscape itself. Broad shoulders clad in a denim shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal tanned forearms, dark hair, slightly messy. A jawline so sharp it could cut glass. He turned as I stepped onto the wood. His eyes were blue, not sky blue, but deep, intense indigo. "You're awake," he said. His voice was a low rumble that I felt in my bare feet. "Who are you?" I demanded, clutching the duvet tighter. "And why did that nice lady call you my husband?" He took a sip of his coffee, studying me with terrifying calm. "I'm Silas Kincaid, and she called me that because we got married last night, around 2 a.m. Justice of the peace." I laughed, a high, hysterical sound. "That's funny. Good joke. I'm Leo Valenti. I'm gay, single, and I live in Chicago. I don't get married to cowboys in Texas." Silas reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He held it out. I took it. Marriage certificate. State of Texas. Silas James Kincaid and Leo Anthony Valenti. My signature was there. A little wobbly, but definitely mine. "No," I whispered. No, I was drunk. I was blacked out. This isn't legal." "In Texas," Silas said dryly, standing up to his full height, which was at least 6'3". "If you can say 'I do' and sign your name, it's legal, and you were very enthusiastic about it." He pulled out his phone. "Do you want to see the video?" No, I shouted. Then quieter. Yes. He played it. There I was, my tie tied around my head like a bandana, hanging off Silas's arm. I was beaming. I've always wanted a cowboy, Video Leo slurred happily. You're so tall. Are you going to carry me over the threshold? And then I kissed him, not a peck. A full-on, grab his face, dip him low kiss. I handed the phone back, my face burning. I need a lawyer. I need an annulment. Agreed, Silas said. He leaned against the railing. But not yet. I blinked. Excuse me? Sit down, Leo. We need to talk business. I sat, mostly because my legs gave out. Here's the situation, Silas said, his tone shifting from amused to strictly business. My grandfather passed away 3 months ago. His will has a stipulation. To inherit this ranch, my home, my legacy, I have to be married by my 35th birthday. Let me guess, I said, rubbing my temples. That's soon. Next week. So you found a drunk guy at a wedding and tricked him? I didn't trick you, Silas said sharply. We met at the bar. We talked for 2 hours. You told me about your student loans, your dead-end graphic design job, and how you wanted an adventure. I told you about the will. You proposed to me, Leo. I groaned, burying my face in my hands. Oh, God. The marriage is done, Silas continued. The county clerk has filed it. If we annul it today, I lose the ranch. The board of trustees will sell it off to developers to build condos. He looked out at the land, his expression tightening. I won't let that happen. So what do you want from me? 6 months, Silas said, turning his indigo gaze on me. Stay married to me for 6 months. Live here. Play the part. We attend church, town events, family dinners. We make it look real. And in return, I pay off your student loans, plus $50,000 cash, and when the 6 months are up, we file for a quiet divorce. You go back to Chicago, debt-free. I stared at him. It was insane. It was the plot of a bad movie. But then I thought about the crushing weight of my $80,000 debt. I thought about my lonely apartment and my job designing logos for dog food companies. Separate bedrooms? I asked weaky. Of course, Silas said. I'm not a predator, Leo. This is a business arrangement. And if I say no, then I fight the annulment, Silas said simply. I have resources. I can drag it out for years. Or we can help each other. He held out his hand. It was large, calloused, capable. I looked at the ring on my finger. I looked at the endless sky. Fine, I said, taking his hand. 6 months, but I'm not doing farm chores. A corner of Silas's mouth ticked up. It's a ranch, city boy. Not a farm. Deal. The first week was a crash course in being Mr. Kincaid. I moved my few belongings into the guest room. It was nice. Too nice. Silas treated me with polite, distant courtesy, like a guest he couldn't wait to kick out. The first test came on Sunday. Church. The whole town will be there, Silas warned as we drove his truck toward town. They're nosy. They gossip. You have to sell it. I can act, I said, adjusting my collar. I was in drama club. This isn't Shakespeare, Leo. Just hold my hand. Look at me like you like me. That shouldn't be hard, I muttered. You're objectively attractive. Silas glanced at me, surprised. Thanks. Don't let it go to your head, cowboy. We walked into the church, and silence fell like a curtain. Every head turned. Silas tightened his grip on my hand. His thumb brushed over my knuckles, a small, comforting gesture that felt surprisingly real. Everyone, Silas announced, his voice steady. This is Leo, my husband. The whispers started immediately. An older woman with hair sprayed into a concrete helmet marched up to us. Well, Silas Kincaid, married, And to a city person? Leo is a designer, Mrs. Gable, Silas said smoothly, pulling me closer to his side. His arm went around my waist, heavy and warm. We met in Chicago. It was sudden. But when you know, you know. He looked down at me then, and for a second the acting stopped. His eyes were soft, searching. Right, Leo? Right, I managed to say, breathless. I took one look at him and knew I was in trouble. Mrs. Gable huffed. Well, welcome to Cypress Creek. Don't expect good bagels. We survived church. We survived the grocery store. We survived the feed shop. By the time we got back to the ranch, I was exhausted. You did good, Silas said in the kitchen, handing me a beer. You weren't so bad yourself, I said. That arm around the waist move? Solid. Had to make it convincing. He took a long sip of his beer, his throat working. I looked away, feeling a sudden flush of heat. Stop it, Leo. He's paying you. Don't catch feelings. 2 months in, the polite distance began to crack. It wasn't a big moment. It was 1,000 small ones. Silas teaching me how to ride a horse, his chest pressed against my back to guide my hands on the reins. Me cooking pasta for him because Martha was off, and him eating 3 helpings with genuine gratitude. Late nights on the porch, talking about everything and nothing. I learned that Silas loved this land more than anything. I learned he had a fear of failure so deep it paralyzed him. And he learned about me. My art. My loneliness in the city. Then came the storm. Texas storms aren't like Chicago rain. They are violent. The sky turned a bruised purple-green around 6 p.m. Sirens started wailing. Tornado warning, Silas said, bursting into the living room. We need to get to the shelter. He grabbed my hand and pulled me out into the howling wind. We ran to the storm cellar around the back. Inside, it was cramped, dark, and smelled of damp earth. Silas lit a lantern. We sat on the bench, shoulder to shoulder, listening to the roar outside. It sounded like a freight train passing directly overhead. I was trembling. I couldn't help it. Hey, Silas said softly. He wrapped an arm around me. I've got you. It's okay. I buried my face in his neck. He smelled of rain and safety. Is the house going to blow away? The house has stood for 100 years, Silas murmured, stroking my hair. It's stubborn, like me. I laughed, a shaky sound. I pulled back to look at him. In the lantern light, his eyes were dark pools. We were so close. His breath ghosted over my lips. Leo, he whispered. It wasn't a question. It was a warning. Or an invitation. I didn't care which. I leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't like the drunk video kiss. This was slow, tentative, soft. Silas froze for a second, then he groaned low in his throat and kissed me back. His hand tangled in my hair, pulling me closer. The kiss deepened, becoming desperate, hungry. It was the release of 2 months of stolen glances and accidental touches. When we finally broke apart, breathless, Silas rested his forehead against mine. This wasn't in the contract, he rasped. Sue me, I whispered. He chuckled, but then he pulled back, his expression guarding up again. Leo, we can't. This complicates things. Does it? You're leaving in 4 months, he reminded me. This is temporary. The words felt like a slap. Right, I said, pulling away. Right. Business arrangement. Sorry, won't happen again. The rest of the storm passed in silence. Things were awkward after the storm. We reverted to polite roommates. Then the trouble started. A developer named Mr. Vance had been trying to buy the Kincaid land for years. He heard rumors about our marriage being a sham. He showed up at the ranch one afternoon with a lawyer. "Mr. Kincaid," Vance smirked, "we have reason to believe your marriage is fraudulent, a ploy to bypass your grandfather's will." "My marriage is real," Silas said, his voice ice cold. He stood on the porch, blocking the door. "Is it?" Vance looked at me. "Mr. Valenti, or is it Kincaid? You sleep in the guest room, don't you? My private investigator has photos of the maid changing sheets in 2 separate rooms." My stomach dropped. "We have separate rooms because I snore," I lied smoothly, stepping up next to Silas. I slipped my hand into his. "And because we like our space. That's not a crime." Vance narrowed his eyes. "We'll see. If we can prove fraud, the will is void. The land goes to auction." He left, but the threat hung in the air like smoke. That night, Silas was pacing the living room. "He's going to dig," Silas said. "He's going to find out about the money transfer I set up for you. He's going to take the ranch." "He won't," I said. "We just have to be more convincing." "How?" Silas spun around. "We're fake, Leo. We are fake. And I can't ask you to lie under oath." "I'm not asking you to." "I can't do this to you," Silas said, his voice breaking. "I can't drag you down with me. You have a life, a future." "My life is here," I shouted. "Don't you get it? I don't want to go back to Chicago." Silas stared at me. "What?" "I love you, you idiot," I said, tears stinging my eyes. "I fell in love with you, with this place, with the cows, with your grumpy grandmother. All of it." Silas looked stunned. For a moment, hope flared in his eyes. But then the fear took over. The fear of losing his legacy. "You think you love me," Silas said quietly. "But you're just caught up in the role, in the romance of the ranch. Once the contract is up, you'll realize it wasn't real." "Don't tell me how I feel." "I'm releasing you," Silas said. "I'll tell Vance the truth tomorrow. I'll say I tricked you. You keep the money. I lose the ranch. But you walk away clean." "Silas, no." "Pack your bags, Leo," he said, turning his back on me. "Please, just go." I left the next morning. Silas didn't come out to say goodbye. Martha hugged me, crying. I drove the rental car down the long driveway, watching the ranch disappear in the rearview mirror. My chest felt like it had been hollowed out with a spoon. I went back to Chicago. I paid off my loans. I got a better apartment. I went back to designing logos. It was everything I wanted, and it was miserable. Every time I drank coffee, I missed the back porch. Every time it rained, I missed the storm cellar. Every time I slept, I missed the sound of Silas's boots in the hallway. 2 months passed. I was miserable, a ghost haunting my own life. Then I saw the news. Wildfires threaten Cypress Creek. Evacuations ordered. I saw the map. The fire was heading straight for the Kincaid land. I didn't think. I grabbed my keys. I grabbed my bag, and I drove. 14 hours. I drove straight through. The sky was orange when I hit the county line. Smoke choked the air. The roadblocks were up, but I knew the back roads. Silas had shown me. I tore up the driveway. The air was thick with ash. The ranch was chaos. People were running, leading horses into trailers. The fire was a wall of flame on the ridge, too close. I found Silas by the barn. He was covered in soot, soaking the roof with a hose. He looked exhausted, defeated. "Silas!" I screamed. He spun around. His eyes went wide. "Leo?" He dropped the hose. "What the hell are you doing here? It's not safe." "I saw the news," I coughed, running to him. "I had to come." "You need to leave. The wind is shifting." "I'm not leaving you." I grabbed his shirt. "I told you, you stubborn ass. I love you. Fire or no fire, debt or no debt, ranch or no ranch. I am your husband." Silas stared at me. The roar of the fire was deafening, but in that moment, the world went silent. You came back, he whispered, into a fire. For me? For us, I said. Silas pulled me into a kiss that tasted of smoke and ash and desperation. He held me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. I love you, he said against my mouth. God, Leo, I love you. I was so stupid. Yeah, you were. I laughed, sobbed. Hey, lovebirds, Martha shouted from the truck. Less kissing, more evacuating. The fire break is holding, but we need to move the herd. We worked, side by side, for hours. We moved cattle. We dug trenches. We fought for the land. And when the wind finally turned, and the rain started to fall, a miracle Texas downpour, we stood on the porch, soaked and blackened with soot, watching the steam rise from the scorched earth. The ranch was safe. The next morning, the air was clear. We were sitting on the porch steps, drinking coffee. Vance called, Silas said. He saw us on the news, helping each other. He said he's dropping the investigation, said no one runs into a fire for a fake husband. Told you I was a good actor, I teased. Silas took my hand. He played with the obsidian ring on my finger. I never filed the annulment papers, he said softly. I know, I said. I checked with the clerk. Silas smiled. He reached into his pocket. I don't have a ring, he said. Well, you already have one. But... He got down on one knee, right there on the dirty porch. Leo Valenti, I know we did this backward. I know I kidnapped you into a marriage. But would you do me the honor of marrying me? For real this time? No contracts? No expiration date? Just forever? I looked at him, the man who felt like home. On one condition, I said. Anything. We get a new wedding photo, one where I'm not wearing a tie on my head. Silas laughed. Deal. Then yes, I said. Yes, Cowboy, I'll stay. He kissed me, and for the first time, there was no acting, no audience, just us. The porch railing had been repainted. A tricycle sat near the door. I sat in the rocking chair, sketching on my iPad. Daddy! A little girl, maybe 4 years old, came running out, chased by a golden retriever. Hey, Peanut, I said, scooping her up. Where's Papa? Right here. Silas walked out, wiping his hands on a rag. He looked older, happier. The lines of stress around his eyes were gone, replaced by smile lines. He leaned down and kissed me. Happy anniversary, he said. Which one? I asked. The drunk one or the real one? Both, he said. They both got me here. He looked out at the ranch, then back at me. Best mistake I ever made, he whispered. Best hangover I ever had, I replied. And as the Texas sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. Home.